Hey everybody, it's Dr. Kalanicky. Alright, so we're going to be continuing on with area today. Hopefully you did all of these things, including copying your homework, getting today's handouts, getting a calculator, putting today's date on the cover of your packet for lesson 9.7, and finally taking out your formula sheet, which we had added to yesterday. Give you a second more. If you need to pause, go right ahead. Okay, so the formula sheet, we're going to add to the formula sheet with anything that is in blue. So yesterday we added the circle formula, area equals pi r squared, and the semicircle formula, area equals pi r squared divided by 2. Same idea as perimeter. You take the formula and cut it in half or divide by 2 when it's a semicircle. These are the other 3 formulas you're going to need for other shapes that you've definitely experienced last year, but we're just going to add them to our formula sheet, and this formula sheet will be useful to your test and when you're studying and doing any kinds of problems, so especially today. So make sure that you copy down the triangle formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Area for a square or a rectangle, area equals length times width, or LW. And then parallelogram, area equals base times height. And again, if you need to write down what those letters stand for, that's fine. There's all the letters that we just used. Length, width, base, height. And I'm just going to add it to the bottom of this just in case you need it. So pause the video, take a second, make sure all of that's copied. You have everything in blue copied on your formula sheet. You should also have everything from the bottom copied, but that was from a previous day. If you don't have that, I'm sure we can get you a printout of it. So pause the video, copy it, and we'll come right back. All right, came back, you have all this copied. You're gonna definitely need this formula for today and tomorrow and for your test. So make sure you hang on to it. The study guide is also on it as well. So today we're talking about the area of a composite shape. To find the area of a composite shape, you separate it into figures with areas that you know how to find. So the formulas that we've just went over, you know how to find an area of a triangle. You know how to find the area of a square or a rectangle. You know how to find the area of a parallelogram. And you know how to find the areas of circles and semicircles. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to separate anything that I give you, a shape, you're going to separate it into figures that you know. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find the sum of those areas. And sum just means to add. So I'm going to take the areas once I have them of all the different shapes that I see, and I'm going to add the areas together. Very, very simple idea. Add the areas together. So with a partner that will either be chosen by the sticks or by Miss Forza or the sub, you're going to discuss your thoughts on how we could calculate the areas of the 2 shapes that are right on this page. So that's this composite shape here and this composite shape here. And notice I kind of broke it up a little bit for you. Shape number 1, decide what shape you want to start with. There are 2 here. And write the shape's name and the formula. And the second shape, write it here, and then write the formula. Same thing with the yellow shape that's on the board. You and your partner are going to fill out all of that information, and then you're going to start plugging in the numbers. I'm going to give you probably about 7 or 8 minutes to do that. We'll see what you can come up with, and then I will go over it with you together. So take some time with a partner. Write down the shape's name, write down the formula, and start plugging information in to try to get the answer. When you're done with it, you're going to add the 2 areas together, shape 1's area and shape 2's area, add it together, and you should get an answer. We're going to go over that in a second. So pause the video, do it with a partner, work it out, and then come back and I will go over them with you. Okay, so you're ready to go over these. The first shape I see on this one, I'm going to go top to bottom, is a rectangle. I can tell it's a rectangle because the dimensions are not equal, so it's definitely not a square, because this side is 9 and this side is 7. If you wrote square, it's definitely not a square, it's a rectangle. If you wrote parallelogram, that would also be okay. The formula for a rectangle is area equals length times width. The second shape I see is a triangle. And the formula for the triangle is area equals 1/2 base times height. Using all that information, now I'm going to plug in information that I know. For the rectangle, I'm going to plug in 9 for the length and 7 for the width. You could have done it the opposite way too. 7 times 9 or 9 times 7. And that answer is 63. For my triangle, my area is 1/2 the base of the triangle. Now here's where it gets a little tricky because you don't see it as clearly. The base of the triangle, if you stand it on its bottom, on a flat part, would be here. And its height is marked with that arrow right here. So that's how tall the triangle is. So if I drew the triangle in the opposite direction, where it's sitting on its base, and here would be, sorry, little dashes, here would be its height. So its height is 6, and its base is this dimension right here, which is here. And if you remember from rectangles, 9 comes right across. So, ooh, terrible 9, but its base is 9 and its height is 6. So that's what I'm going to plug into this formula right here. Area is 9 times 6, 1/2 of 9 times 6. 9 times 6 is 54. Get my calculator out. There we go. 1/2 9 times 6, which is 27. So the whole area of that shape is 63 plus 27, which would equal 90. And if I go back up, do I have any measurements? I do. I have meters. So when I calculate area, I'm covering the shape, and it's going to be meters, and it's actually going to be meters squared. So make sure you have a squared on top of your meters for your final answer. So again, final answer is 90 meters squared. Here we go. There is your answer. Oh no, what happened? I don't know. Let's make it bigger again. Oh, that's better. Okay. Sorry about that. 90 meters squared. There's your answer. Okay. Second shape over here, another composite shape. I see two shapes. The first shape I see is a semicircle, or a half circle would also be okay. Formula for area of a semicircle is pi r squared. Let me get my symbol. Oh, I can't draw it. All right. Pi r squared. So I have to get the pi in here. It's not letting me do it. So I'm just gonna draw a pi symbol. There's pi. Pi r squared. And because it's a semicircle, I have to cut the formula in half. Pi r squared divided by 2. Before I even, well, I'll go to the next shape and I'll come back. The second shape I see, again, rectangle. You could have also written parallelogram. I know it's a rectangle because its length and its width are not the same dimension, so it's definitely not a square. And my formula for a rectangle is length times width. I'm going to do the rectangle formula first because it's pretty easy. 4 times 2, and the area is 8. Really, really quick. 4 times 2. The semicircle formula is more complicated. This time, very different from the circumference formula because I only have one formula, and that's pi r squared. So if I don't have the r, or if I don't have the radius, I have to figure that out first. So before I even go and use this formula, I'm going to come up to the shape, and I want to know what the radius is and what the diameter is. And I know I have one of them in the picture right now. So right now I have this distance is 4, and since 4 goes all the way across the circle, 4 is my diameter. So remember from our quiz, if I want to go from a radius to a diameter, diameter to a radius, I'm going to cut it in half. So 4 divided by 2 gets me the radius, which is 2. So when I plug it into my formula, I'm going to have A equals pi, and I'm going to use 3 and 1400ths for pi, 2 squared and then divided by 2. I knew that was going to do that. Squared and then divided by 2. Let's get my pen out. Divided by 2. So 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 and 1400ths divided by 2. When I put that all in my calculator, I should get A to equal 6 and 2800ths. Make sure you're with me, make sure you got that down, and then my final step is to add the 6 and 2800ths plus the 8, which will get me a grand total of 14 and 2800ths. Going to go back up and check for measurements. That's yards. So 14 and 28 yards squared. Oops. Yards squared. There we go. Final answer. 14 and 2800ths yards squared. There we go. Okay. You have 2 more questions I want you to do. I want you to try them by yourself. I did make a little edit on this one. If you notice right here, I actually drew this black line in. Since I didn't go over trapezoids, and that's what this shape at the bottom, if you didn't draw the line in, would be. But now it's actually 3 shapes. So you're going to actually have to add a 3rd shape onto here. So shape 1, shape 2, and you're going to have to add a shape 3. But it'll fit, so don't worry about it. So there are 3 shapes here, 1, 2, 3. And there are 2 shapes here, 1 and then 2. So find the areas of those shapes. When you're ready to go over it, play the video and I will go over it with you. Alright, so ready to go over these 2 final review shapes. First shape here I'm going to see is a square. I can call it a square because all of its sides are equal. So area is length times width. This guy has 12 times 12, which is my lucky number, 144. I don't know why, but it's my lucky number. The second shape I see is a triangle. Formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And for this shape, I have 1/2 times the base, which is 12, times the height, which is 9. In my calculator, that would get me 54. So my final answer, 144 plus 54, which is 198. Let me go back up to my shape to label it. Feet squared. 198 feet squared for that guy right there. For the second shape, and we talked about how it's going to have an extra shape on it. Shape 1, let's do the semicircle first. And again, my semicircle formula, A equals pi r squared divided by 2. I'm going to draw it in green, just be faster. Pi r squared, divided by 2. A little messy, sorry about that. Alright, so now plugging stuff into it. Pi is 3 and 1400ths. My radius, gotta come back up here. So I have in my picture a diameter. Again, in this picture, because it's going all the way across the circle, the diameter is 4, which means my radius is 2. So coming back over here, 2 squared, bring it up, and then divided, my whole answer divided by 2. Oops, no, that's alright. Divided by 2. Alright, let's see what that is. 2 squared times 3 and 1400ths divided by 2. Oh, same answer as before. I guess I used the same numbers. A is 6 and 2800ths. Okay, shape number 2 I see is a rectangle. which is a nice easy formula, length times width, which in this case would be 2 times 6, which would be 12. And then my final shape is that little triangle on the side. Formula for that is 1/2 base times height. And in this case, I got 1/2. The base of the triangle is what it's sitting on, and the height is how tall it is. So let's take a look real carefully at this. We've done this before. If this whole thing is 6, according to the measurement here, and this sideways piece is 4, I'm missing this piece right here. And I know a lot of you like to label. I'm just going to get a little eraser in here. Here we go. So if this is also 4, right? We've talked about that, rectangles. This missing piece is this small piece right here. So it's the whole thing, which is 6, take away 4, which would leave it with 2. So this base is 2, and its height, if you notice, is also in the picture labeled. Its height is also 2. So this rectangle, the 2 matches with this 2 on this side. So let's go back to the text. The base of this triangle is going to be 2, and its height is also going to be 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. Half of 4 is 2. So my final area for this shape is going to be adding 3 of the areas together, 6 and 28/100ths plus 12 plus 2, for a final answer of 20 and 28/100ths. Scroll up, meters squared. And there we go. Trying to trace it, not working for me. Here we go. My 2 answers. All right. I hope you had some fun practicing these. Again, real simple. Find the area of each shape and then add them up. Area is the amount of space that I can use to cover a shape. And remember, circumference or perimeter is when I go around a shape. I hope you guys had fun, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.